Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit of okay, let me start. Let me start again. Okay, I wanted to talk about a little bit of everything today. I see some issues that we haven't really discussed as much as other issues, so I'm just gonna try to cover those and just see if we can get into dialogue stuff that hasn't, enough light hasn't been shown on it before. So one of the biggest issues I'm seeing a lot of studies posted into the community, and one of the biggest issues I've noticed is you guys don't know how to transfer from grayscale to color. I have a video on it, where I transferred one of my friend's work, one work that my friend made, from grayscale to color, and I was trying to explain that it is possible, but just as long as your values are not dark. If your values are too dark, it looks muddy. So this is muddy, and this is muddy. Muddy means that you're using a value that's too dark for the color you're expecting to use. So when we go into skin tones and oranges, so you wanted this person who painted this red girl wanted them to actually be orange skin. And this one here is supposed to be, skin. But it's reading as some sort of papyrus paper or some sort of scroll. I'm sorry, one sec, I just need to cough. So, so what happens is you guys try to go for these colors and you paint them in grayscale with these values over here. So blah blah blah, you're using these values. But the color, if you go to the color, let's say it's skin tone. Skin tone is up here. It belongs to this value. Skin tone, skin tone, this value right here. So they're pretty light compared to the values you're choosing down here. So just take a look at the values you're choosing, exactly where I said you're choosing them from. This whole ratio right here. You don't use skin tones from this ever, unless you're painting African skin tone. Unless you're painting that eggplant, purpley, brown, deep brown skin tone. And very rarely will you come across it in character design. I mean, unfortunately, it's not the majority, so it's not going to be the majority in character design either. And it's a very particular study. But if you want to study the general skin tone, that all of it is neither Caucasian or Asian or brown, it's just like in the middle of everything, it sits up here. Alright, so this is the one you want to perfect first, because nearly all characters have this. And just take a look at the League of Legends lineup and take a look at the Overwatch lineup. Very rarely do you have that skin tone for a character that drops all the way down here. So learn the average first, and the average sits up here. But you guys, it's neither here nor there with you guys. You guys are not even familiar with the skin tones you're going to be using later on, and you guys are splitting your learning process. One day for color, one day for grayscale, and you're doing grayscale first. If you work on grayscale first, you have to know what this color is intended to be. Like, what is this value going to be used for later? And that value is going to be used for this. Skin tone. This peachy, fleshy, general, very average skin tone. Alright? It's these values right here. So the way to correct this, so that's the rule. These are the corrections that come with it. Select inverse. So the first things first is we raise the value all the way up. Actually, there's so many things to do. I'm just going to do them as they come. So I'm going to shift this over to the reds, and I'm going to raise this value up. No. I'm going to leave the value alone and just shift it to the reds. And then I'm going to get a lighten layer. And I'm going to choose a color that I want to use. So let me grab my soft brush. Alright, so let's go looking for that color, that basic baby face, typical, skin tone value. Using lighten layer, I'm just going to throw it on top. And I'm just going to try to move that into higher setup. Just like that. Okay. Then I'm going to get a new layer because I want to assess your use of grayscale. And you're just using way too much contrast, buddy. Like, it's way too much. So I'm going to turn that layer off. Might turn it into a color layer. And then using my brush on darken, I'm going to get rid of that excessive highlight you have here. Okay. And then using lighten layer, I'm going to get rid of that. So these are all corrective layers that I'm using. These are corrective layer modes. And this issue with this painting is on many levels. There are many issues you have right now in your, understanding of the sciences behind anatomy, the asymmetry in the nostrils, the excessive darkness, the dots on either side of the lip. I mean, you're not familiar enough with this, and don't let this be the last study. Let this be one of the studies you do. And the reason why this is problematic is because, all of the issues, all of the beginner mistakes are here. So you should not be, if you're having this many beginner mistakes, so the pencil thin eyebrow, the anime eye, the lack of, form or radial shading in the nostrils. These are all signs that these are all typical beginner mistakes. So you should not be using color. You should not be painting in color until you perfect these issues, which are directly linked to form. When we're painting a baby, above all, look at we should be really lowering our contrast here and taking it easy with the excessive darks and anything that signifies makeup or anything that has like any kind of extreme contrast to it, because it takes away from the softness of the theme, which is the baby. So we use that. I'm going to use it on color instead. And then now the value, so I'm going to try to move that over to the yellows. The value is a little bit more easy on the eyes. We can now address some other issues. You need some yellows in the skin tone. You need some purples. This value needs to be desaturated. And over here, we need to just raise everything back up a notch. We need some more pinks. So this is a really, really basic skin tone now that we've corrected this with. It's a really basic skin tone, really basic starting point for your skin. And then after you correct it, at that point I just start painting directly on the layer. And now the contrast isn't too extreme. But if we take a look at what your contrast looked like before, it's way too high. And so you're using contrast to get a read. You're using pencil thin brows to get a read. You're using plain dots and cartoony lips and eyes to get a read. These are all the most extreme signatures of beginner mistakes. It's just the telltale signs, typical symptoms of it. So after that, I would probably get a yellow. So I'd move up into the yellows of the skin tones and try to find a value here that'll make the skin pop, because we place yellows and skin tone on anywhere where there's highlight, and then we do the opposite and bring in purples and cooler reds in the shadows. So stay away from color. That's my advice for you right now. If you stay away from color, it'll quicken your learning process, so you can focus on blending right and not overusing lines, and focus on the real grit involved in improving your work, which is not in color right now. It's in form. Dealing with form, working on form for a while, will make it so that you don't use excessive contrast too soon, which means you'll never get muddy colors once you transfer into color. So, you can fix that micro problem now and continue using color, or you can, do something that covers every other issue that you have. So it's like a collective change, a collective influence, like something that collectively influences all your issues, instead of this one minor issue, which is your grayscale values are too dark, so your colors are muddy. That's one of the problems. Okay, so I'm just fixing some of these edges here. And We need some edge work on the edge of the nose. The other nostril will not be visible. Another typical beginner mistake, you're forcing the presence of the other nostril. I mean, you have it all here. Select immerse. And I cover all of this in my videos. So if you guys are watching my videos, you'll see that, you know, all these issues are covered here. All of them are dealt with. You would have had this introduced into your vocabulary way sooner than this today's critique. But all of these issues have been addressed time and time again. They remanifest in different ways with every single artist. They become unique in their own instances with every artist comes in and has their own issues. But their own version of the issues, but it's still the same issue. There's still the same problems. So this eye is flat. It's being painted flat, like as if it's a stamp or a sticker. Another beginner mistake. And these beginner mistakes all source from this excessive dependency on symbols and lines. And this isn't something easy to shake off, but if you practice every day and make your environment, your learning environment, a kind that supports all form, and you replace the line enough that you don't see the line anymore. So only grayscale, edge work, staying away from high contrast, all of these things work together to help you avoid the line as much as possible. The contrast is the line. The line itself is lines. Symbols and stickers instead of actual diagrams of the eye. These are all lines and symbols and silhouettes. And if you focus only on edge work, form, doing form studies, you'll eventually replace in your mind the way you approach any object in your memory. All of these objects in your memory will be replaced with something more accurate. So there's only so much I could do in so short a time to help this face along. But just from what I see right now, this kid's face is probably like a tan skin tone, because we brought down that contrast immensely. Probably raise the value just a little bit, add some saturation. And then once you do that, you can go in and fix up all of these dark spots and make them pop. But not before you have enough gradients, enough core shadows moving across the face. You have this cast shadow and you have this cast shadow, which are really, really good. It's really good seeing that. It's a good sign seeing that. Oh, I think I added this one, shit. But this one and this one here, there's some really good cast shadows that show promise, that show that you have a mind that can process all of that form very easily. But if we take a look at your values before, we'll see lots and lots of issues. So before, extreme contrast, the value was completely off. It did not even speak skin. I mean, there was nothing about it that was saying skin. Like I said, it looked like a scroll or something. You're trying color way too soon. Way too soon. So I hope this kind of gives you a quick, I don't know, like a clue as to. I just give up. I'm so sorry. I have a cold today, so I'm just. There's no happiness right now. I'm just really bummed about my being sick. But yeah, I hope it gives you a clue as to where to start in improving your studying in your studies. So we fix the values, and once we fix values, we have to fix the background color. So you have to make sure that the room around the object also has a brightness to it that allows the object to be this visible. And once we do that, we can go in and use some highlights and show the shine of the skin, as I've shown you guys in other classes. Oh, whoops. But all of these things, you improve in them if you study properly. When I say stay away from masterpieces, I'm saying stay away from that mentality that makes you think everything you make is like your baby. When I say get into the study mode, I mean that study and then throw it in the trash. Study and then throw it in the trash. Don't collect it and put up an altar and burn some candles and incense around the recent study that you did. There's some students who just love the heck out of what they do. Stop falling in love with your art. Stop it. Stop. If you want to get better, you have to stop. There's a humility factor in getting better. And it's not just, I mean, it's the most patience inducing craft you could ask for. It is a lot of work. And you gotta just turn Buddhist. Just gotta go full Buddhist with this, because if you don't let go of this excessive love you have for your art, you will not be able to toss every study that you make. What does that mean, tossing every study? It means you make it, you learn from it, whatever micro amount progressed your skill, and then you leave it. You let it go. You drop it in the trash. Learn to hate your stuff. I mean, learn to just get rid of it. One of these days, you'll make something that you'll love, and everybody will also love, because it will read. It will be something beautiful, and something that really brings together form and creativity and your own personal technique with your brushwork, and it'll just be a beautiful thing. But until then, until you reach that intermediate to advanced level, every study has to be. Um, my neighbors are just fucking going crazy. Um, every study has to be a. Oh my god, they're going crazy. They're like fighting. I don't know if you guys heard all that yelling. Fucking New York. But what was I saying? God damn it. Yeah, you'll get to the point where you won't have to hate it anymore, because it'll just be really well done. But learn to hate it until that point. Learn to just let go of your art. Kill your darlings or something, right? So your values need to be up here. You need to understand texture and how hair blends in with the skin around it. Um, you have some good edges here, which is really nice. You need to learn a little bit more about form environment and light environment, and how bright the background has to be, where the presence of the light source is. Texture when it comes to skin, how shiny skin really is. All of that cannot be taken care of until you let go, and stop trying to color. Okay, so shut that down. I'll send this back to you if you want it, but I hope this helps. For this one, you went for an orange skin tone, but what you were doing is using red scales. So literally, I think all we have to do is raise the value and it'll read as orange, because that's exactly where the issue is happening. I'm going to try to lasso around this. Yeah, I need to knock on their door and make sure he hasn't killed her. My neighbors are something else, yo, from both sides. They're just like these fucking maniacs. Why do people live together when they're not ready to live together? Just don't do it. Just fucking no. Your relationship will not last. Please give it up. Fucking stay away from each other for as long as fucking possible. Move in together I don't know, when you're ready. Not because you won a coin toss or lost a coin toss. Coin toss. I'm so fucking out of it right now. Alright. Sorry if you guys hear that yelling. There's only so much I could do to make your experience an enjoyable one. When we raise that value up, alright, look at that. It's orange. All we had to do was raise the value up so it can be orange, because you were choosing a value that was way too low. So of course now it looks washed out because the darks are raised as well, which is, thank you, hue saturation tool. But I can just duplicate twin cost. It's the relationship advice. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is erase away what was beneath it, so I can get some of that deeper, richer red around the eyes. That I can do. Around the eyebrows. Around the nose. But your value was too dark, man. My god. Do you guys hear that? Some next level fighting, just like, what are you doing that causes that much, like, in order to have that much of a bump happen in between all of the walls, you have to just like pick up your couch and just let it fall. So if that's like one of those bumps, one after the other, it means that you guys are either slamming doors or someone's throwing someone else against a wall or someone's throwing beach balls. Because I don't get how I can hear everything like that. That's not every stomp. You're not above me. You're like beside my house. So I went all Sherlock Holmes on this. Alright. So, before, after. If you want to saturate, go ahead and saturate. Now you're in the realm, the value that belongs to this. So if you want to saturate, you can. If you saturate as much as you want, it'll still look orange. Because orange needs to be high. What makes orange other than yellow and red? And yellow is very high in the values. That's the lightest value. So I'm going to saturate just a little bit. It's the lightest value color. Okay, so a lot of you guys are jumping into color way too soon without even understanding where these values are coming from. So let's take a look at them. Let's discover where all these values sit. All these colors sit in the value scale. So red, the best red. Let's find the best red. So that's how you do it. You find the best red available. You slide over to it. So the best red, in my opinion, is this like deeper red right here. All right. And then the best orange. The best orange is probably up here. So when I say best, most saturated but not washed out, the best orange is actually a little more red. It sits all the way up here, really light. The best yellow, so it's a little bit orange. It's not fully yellow. Because if you go too yellow with Photoshop, Photoshop offers you like light source yellow. You know, this is not, there's no color on this earth that is not a light source that can be this bright. Alright, so I'm not talking about anything bioluminescent or anything that is an actual light source. So this color right here, this yellow, is probably the best one we can find. And it sits all the way up here. Let's go to green. Green also has yellow in it, so it's going to stay pretty high. Alright, so the best green we can find. This is probably a really good green. Also really, really high. The only color you'll find that actually looks really good dark is this badass right here. Right? This motherfucker looks good no matter where you find him. Alright? Blue looks good everywhere. All versions of it. Anything that has blue in its formula, so purple, will also look great really dark. But let's go to all these colors and see which one is the most vibrant at this value. So let's choose this value. So red looks like, I don't know, it looks like old blood. Alright, orange looks like poop. Yellow poop and baby diarrhea. Milk only diet. 3 months old, diaper, soil, color. I'm sorry, I grew up with a lot of kids. Then this one is like, I had too much juice, green juice, and then I really regretted it, so this is what my puke looks like. I'm sorry. Green looks pretty good. Why? Because it's got blue in its formula. Alright, so it's a combination of this one and this one. So green looks pretty good dark. And then the one that is the most rich. Look at that. Just spread that on some toast. Alright, please understand where your colors come from in the value scale. If you're not versed in this, if your vocabulary is completely unaware of where your colors sit, how are you expected to color? I don't get it. How do you think you're gonna do it? How are you gonna get away with it? And you don't, because I'm looking at your studies right now and you guys aren't getting away with it. Okay? So please remember, your values sit in their own specific little neighborhoods. Alright, so let's take a look at this person's 14-day challenge. So they said that they didn't do this with anyone's critique, which is not a good thing. I'd like for you to get critiques. And the more you progressed, you got that old man look every time you went going. Like I'm not sure if you were going for that old man look, but you had this old person thing, this like phase of old, like you must have been at a park and you looked at a lot of old people for a while. You didn't notice that you were redrawing them because this really dark eye circle, it just kept coming back. Looks like Bruce Jenner. just keep going. But the thing that improved consistently through all your days is that you started to introduce the side shadows very, very, very well. You started to understand where all the core shadows sit. So this is really, really great. And then suddenly the old man is gone. One thing I would change about this 14-day challenge, though, don't make a, this weird kind of like a rice shape for the eye. Have it circular. All right. That's step one to making a really believable eye that does not look like, shocked. Because if we show, or scary, because if we show too much of the white of the eye at the top of the iris, what will happen is that it will look uncanny. It will look unnatural and a little bit unsettling. So what we do for that first is that we get rid of that teardrop shape to the eye, right? And then after that, all we have to do is follow the geometry. How would you shade a sphere? Get a darkened layer, and I'm going to darken the upper half of this eyeball and the lower half. And you're shading this eyeball as if you're shading any other sphere. So that's why form studies are good, hand in hand. It's like when you're working out, right? You got to take supplements too. Working out is like hand in hand with diet. So doing the 14-day challenge, it's hand in hand with form studies. One helps the other. So wherever one lacks, the other makes up for it. So if you're doing a lot of working out and you used up a lot of energy and you've completely used up all your resources, a good diet helps to replenish that so you can continue and do that again. But if you're there doing this for 14 days and you're not grounding it on any severe method of form or benefiting your, just something to help you keep your form and sciences grounded and considered, you're not going to have that successful a 14-day challenge or any other challenge for that matter. So if you don't know how to shade a rectangle in a light source situation with good values in an open light environment, you're not going to be able to draw hands. That's just what it is. Every finger is a rectangle. If you can't shade a sphere, you're not going to be able to draw a convincing eye. They're hand in hand. It's the stuff behind the curtain. It's the stuff that we really need. So what I'm doing now is I'm getting rid of that excessive, God damn it, Photoshop, for the love of God, that excessive visibility on the white of the eye. It is just way too visible, man. Alright, so I'll merge that down and then I'll shade the eyeball and then I'll bring in some lashes. So I'll shade the eyeball. Again, way too much white visible on the eyeball, man. Just get rid of that. Increase that size there as well. That'll help make it a little bit less unsettling. And then I'm just going to grab like any old brush and then start introducing some lash line to make sense of that excessive shadow we added on the top layer. All of this is following the anatomy of the sphere that I know how to shade. Also, the white of the eyes were just so bright. So the next level is, now that you have a good head shape and you use this 14-day challenge to get you to improve basic skeletal structure under all that flesh, now what's left to do is restart the 14-day challenge and get some people in on the critiquing, because we're stronger together. I always say this. If you don't get critiques, you really just cripple your improvement. You have to have someone else's perspective in there. You cannot trust your own visual library. You can't pretend that you have all the answers. You don't. If you did, then you'd be really good right now. But we're not. We're not as good as we want to be. None of us are. That's why we need each other. We need each other's point of view. We're social creatures. We're not perfect. So you are not exempt from getting another person's critique. I know you want to. You have, all the goodwill to do it, but I need to tell you how important it really is to really succeed in this. So you have the courage to do 14 days straight of work, or 14 straight studies, but next time do it with the presence of another perspective, another person to crack down that, or break down that tunnel vision that you have. so that someone will say it early, these eyes are making me feel uncomfortable because they are uncanny. They are showing way too much, more than we see in a normal eye. And when someone is this shocked, we sense fear. So in turn, we get, just it kind of feels like we should be afraid as well. What's this person scared of? Are they trying to scare me? You know? That's how you get a reaction from your viewers. So what I'm doing now is, again, I'm just using the sphere to guide my brush. Just like that. So the eye is a little bit large as well, so it's a very large eye. And when you add more shading to an eye that was relatively flat, you can see that it was actually pretty big to begin with, and we have to shrink it. Other issues that you have are outlining the side of the nose and not combining the lips. So the lips are way too dark. It looks like they have lipstick on. Maybe the upper lip can stay a little dark, but not even that dark, and the sides should be a little bit lighter as well. And we're slowly moving into the corners of the lips. And you have a smile, so make sure that you know if you're going to do a 14-day challenge and you know you have a smile, then you will permanently have a smile in all your default work. You want the default face that you have that you can access when you get hired by anybody. You want that default face to be neutral. But just know that this is a smiley face. And then again, I'm going to bring my smudge tool and I'm going to combine the lips with the skin around them, so you're over outlining the lips. So a lot of symbols, a lot of errors with form, a lot of anatomy issues. I mean, if you were going for that scary look, you did it. But if you weren't, then this is what you need to do. We need to see more of the upper eyelid, less of the lower eyelid. So that lower eyelid was way too visible, actually. I might just decrease that. And then all in all, it looks like Frodo. So it's not really a familiarity like that we have. We don't have that, we don't see this kind of face every day. So if you're going for a man, that eye should go all the way down. If you're going for a male face, if you're going for a female face, keep it large and then shrink the width of the lips. There are many things you could do. The head is a little bit too round. I don't know if your canvas is small. Maybe your canvas is short. I mean, I'm seeing a little bit of white here, so maybe your canvas was exactly this size. Please make sure you have enough size for the canvas so that the head isn't always like the result of the head isn't always stunted. So a short canvas leads to a stunted face. So can anyone list real quick all the notes I made today through all these critiques? Anyone repeat all the major notes? I know I didn't ask you guys to write anything back to me. Probably should have. Shut the fuck up. Shave your legs and shut up. Their stupid house is right, like their fucking bathroom is on my living room wall. We share a wall. Yes, we share a wall with the bathroom, so we hear everything. Damn it. So this arc over here is a very, it's very high. So it's a kind of like a feminine eye. So you might want to look into that. Work from references. So you are a little bit allowed to use some reference when it comes to the 14-day challenge, but not so much that suddenly it's a photo reference. That's why I'm so hesitant on letting people use references, because it's you can very easily just say, oh, I'm doing 14 days straight of photo reference, photorealism studies. I mean, that's not a 14-day challenge. 14-day challenge is forcing you as the human, to create a face. So using your visual library, using your knowledge of form to just draw a face from thin air. That's what the whole study is about. But you can have a reference guide you along what shadows to use, what kind of face to use. But, shave your legs and shut up. How long does it take to shave your legs, man? Don't do color too early. Learn to let go of your studies. Exactly. Light values for skin, or any other color that's yellow based. All the other colors that don't have a yellow in their formula are all dark. Yellow is a primary. Sorry, I wasn't telling the artist to shave their legs and shut up. I'm telling my neighbor to shave their legs and shut up. oh my god, like what the fuck? I could just hear her just saying that. Like, fucking? And then it muffles out. Blue looks good at any value. Can't paint an eye if you can't shade a sphere. Excellent. So you can draw an eye, but can you sculpt an eye? Yes, if you can sculpt a sphere. You can draw an arm, but can you sculpt an arm? Yes, if you can sculpt a cylinder. So doing form studies, doing all the basic forms out there, the basic geometry, basic forms of geometry. So sphere, cylinder, cube, pyramid, all those basic shapes. You can use you can study those for forever in different kind of lighting situations. You can draw blobs, so you can study radial shading. All of these things work together. You carry them back, whether you know it or not, you carry them back into your basic sculpting that you do with everything else, and you get amazing results. So good job on this 14-day challenge. I commend you for going through 14 days, but please remember, using critiques, using someone else's perspective really will help you get rid of a lot of stuff. So it took you 6 tries to get rid of the old look, or maybe you were using an old person reference. I don't think you said you used any reference. It took you 6 tries to notice maybe this is looking a little bit old. But someone else's perspective could have just told you, yo, you're using age signatures right now, so you have excessive highlights right here. I mean, shadows right here on either side of the cheek. You have 2 dark circles around the eyes. You have a saggy eye shape. The eye shape isn't spherical yet. This could have been all in one post. One day could have had all of these notes given to you, and you could have just taken care of them for the next day. So imagine what this would have looked like at the end if you had addressed this issue, which took you 6 tries to address. Alright, so that's why it's important to get critiques, because you nip it in the bud. Literally nipping it in the bud. Like, you find the bud, nipping it. Is that what it is? Is that what it is? Nip it in the bud? Why would you want to? Anyway. Save that. So now let's talk about scale. So when we use these kinds of proportions, it's very cute. It looks nice. It looks nice to us, but it's just all kinds of wrong. If you want that realistic look, you have to shrink the eyes like way down. Alright, so shrinking the eyes means you get that next level of realism. And what does that mean? It just means that if we have big eyes, so let's say we found a girl, a model or whatever, she had humongous eyes, right? She still doesn't have eyes as big as the one you drew here. Alright, even she, that is whose beauty is celebrated in our world, in our dimension, doesn't have eyes as big as the ones you drew here. So what I'm doing right now is bringing that back. So there was a post made a while back, I don't know who can find it, but please find it if you can, of Disney characters whose eyes were shrunken down. Because the Disney method just has such large eyes, it just looks so uncanny and stupid, especially since they transferred into 3D animation. So Disney eyes shrunken. So where is this? To the regular size. Okay. So it just looks, I mean, it doesn't feel right. When a normal person, I guess, would just understand, like, this is just an animation, it looks cute. But to us, if her eyes have, even not just this small, if they were just a little bit larger than this, but much smaller than that, it would have still had that really nice effect. When you bring in that 3-dimensional, you're telling their viewer, hey, you can meet this guy if you want. A cartoon, we can never meet a cartoon, but when it's 3-dimensional, suddenly we make it so believable. So just look at that. That's beautiful. I don't know what it is. I guess it's just about taste. But if they had this kind of anatomy in Disney movies, I would just take it so much more seriously. And it would still be the same old character. So they shrunk her eyes. It's just so much more expressive. I mean, not really, because big eyes are more expressive, but in animation, when you have nothing but 2D lines, you need larger eyes to express more. We exaggerate motion in 2D animation. But 3D animation, we've got all the lighting and subsurface scattering to exaggerate for us. And again, it's about taste. If you like this, go for it. But if you want a portfolio that'll get you in everywhere, you want to stick to that. You can stylize so much. I mean, this one's really, I remember this one the most, because she just became so much more old. She's supposed to be a mom. Here she looked like a sister with short. She looks like me right now. This is exactly what my haircut looks like. Um, I hate my hair right now. Fuck. But it's okay. I don't actually hate it. I miss my long hair. I just yeah. Anyways, shut the fuck up, Istebrak. But yeah, this actually felt like she was a 30-year-old woman, you know. And here, especially this one. But this was like I don't know. They should have shrunk the nose and the mouth as well, which I think they did. I'm not sure, but this is a caricature, so it's not really Disney animation. Just take a look at what happened. It's just so pretty. Here, you know? This one especially. She looked like an old hag. Which she is. She was an old hag. These are really, really nice. And it's Disney, so they get away with it. But everyone else won't get away with it. This one, actually, I didn't mind her weird proportions. Because it was like the Hanna-Barbera style. I'm not even sure what to call it. That weird little style they used. And it was like a 3D animated Johnny Bravo style. This one I really liked. Here she just looked like E.T. And over here she actually looked like a Disney princess. This one just freaked me out. I love the edit. This short face made her look like she has no teeth. You know how when old ladies get, when they lose their teeth, their jawline just shrinks? This is what it looked like. Lots, like that's what I'm saying when we shrink the eyes. And it doesn't even have to be as extreme as the guy who just edited Disney, you know. And it was Disney, so the eyes started off large to begin with, and they really shouldn't have kept it that large. That and their annoying ass overbite they use in every fucking character design. Nothing against overbites, but it's like they use a template and they just keep reusing it through every movie. Anyways. So when we shrink that and we increase the size of the nose just a little bit, her eyes are still big. She's still gorgeous. Trust me, if you saw a girl with these proportions in the real world, you'd just go crazy for her. But this is a caricature, and not just a caricature, just a complete humanoid, no longer human. All right, so we need that space in between their eyes, and we need the shrinking in the eye size. And when it comes to anywhere that is fatty, values aren't really as sharp. So you should have left that cheekbone shadow right under the most bony part of the face. And then the sides of the face get that shadow that they need. And you need a shadow in between the eyebrows. So it is about taste, and anyone can use the taste excuse, but I'm using the anatomy excuse, which is really hard to refute. I'm trying to promote anatomy right now. I'm trying to promote that believability, that realism, that, okay, one day you're going to want to draw a big cartoony chibi looking thing, but what about when you want to draw something realistic? How are you going to shake off that excessive obsession with big is pretty when it comes to eyes? The bigger the better. How are you going to shake off that Disney cancer that you grew up with, that anime cancer? It's really nice to draw big eyes. I draw big eyes on a lot of cartoony characters that I draw. I have to, or else they won't be believable, because they're cartoons and caricatures, and 2D animation has to be exaggerated. But when it comes to drawing characters, I can make the eyes humongous, but if I did, I'd be depending on that to carry the form. Why don't I just use a believable scale? It's going to push the realism that much further. So you could you can stick to what you had before, but I'm telling you, this attracts more audiences. Alright, this believability opens doors, so many doors for realism. So now that we aren't taking up this much space for the eye, now we have some space to mess around with some form. So maybe just around here. Why did I zoom up like that? Just around here. Alright, we could have had some edges. And on the inside of the eye, right along here. So now we have all this space. You know, the eyes aren't 2 centimeters away from each other. They actually have some space apart from each other, so we can use that space to just introduce some more cool little effects and mess around with edges, and the space opened up. There's breathing room in this anatomy. That's one of the biggest benefits from staying low scale, scales that are low. Her eyes are still humongous, but they're not, you know, abnormal. You don't want abnormal to be the thing people think when they think about your portfolio. You want to bring style, you want to bring charm, but you also want to show you have skill, you have a real, canon of knowledge behind you that you understand and can use at a moment's notice. So what I'm doing is just building up her nose structure, making her nose climb towards a high point. I'm lowering the opacity of the shadow. I'm just blending away where I can. And then this lip right here needs a corner to it. So you're using excessive shadow for the lips. So before, after. And it probably looks like a different girl. And before it had that Monica Bellucci face. You can make her nose a little smaller. You can go ahead and do that. You can get away with it. Noses come small. Okay. So I made her nose smaller. But still, it's a more believable eye. So to get today's session, to watch it, just go to istebrak.com and go to the YouTube icon, and you'll be able to get on YouTube and watch the recording of today's session. If you want to upload work for critique, just go to the Google Plus icon right here. Facebook and Twitter, other ways to contact me. Thank you everyone for watching today. I'm so sorry for being so ill. I know my sentences trailed off and I wasn't really focused, but I was trying very hard to be present. Thank you everyone for watching. Have a great night, guys. Bye-bye.